Hello, Pathfinders. You are most welcome to the unofficially officially Bales podcast. I am your host, Bubs, and I would like to apologize for not releasing an episode last week. I was crazy busy with so many things happening, and when I realized that I was going to have a discussion on a very sensitive topic, it would have been unfair of me to just peruse through it without giving it the attention that it needs. But now that I have time, because we broke off at my workplace, so now I'm on holiday and I'm able to have this conversation with you guys and with myself. The title is Learning to Carry the Weight, and I am specifically going to focus on grief that is attained when you lose a loved one. It could be a family member, a significant other, it could be a friend, anyone that you love. And I'm going to give you a story time from my experience and just give you a few things that I have gotten to realize from the time that I lost my people. I do have a disclaimer, it could be triggering for some people. So if grief is not something that you would like to hear about or listen to, then should I say viewers' discretion is advised or listeners' discretion is advised? I don't know. But yeah. I also had to put myself together because, like I mentioned, it's a very sensitive topic, and talking about this could even put me into a very weird emotional state. I could even start crying, for real. But I'm going to try my best. I want to talk about it because I feel like people have a superficial understanding of what grief is, and I'm going to try to explain it from my experience, how it has affected me, it has affected my relationships, and how I've learned to live with it, to embrace it, and not to fight it. From the moment that I got to start understanding things that were happening around me, I got to understand death in a way that everyone else understands it. It means that somebody has gone and they're never going to come back. So from an earlier age, I can remember hearing about auntie this, uncle this has died. Yeah, and it would be sad, but I never really understood the impact it had on people. It only happened when I lost my mom. My mom was the very first person that I lost. I think she died at the age of 38. I'm not really going to go into details, but I'm going to try as much as I can to give you what I'm comfortable with. I hope you understand. So as far as I understood death, it was something that I thought that would never happen to the people closest to me, being my mom, my dad, or my sister. I thought that those were the people that were going to be with me for the rest of my life. And then my mom passes away, and I'm like, what is happening? Even in the days leading to my mom's death, not once did I think that this could be it. I knew that she was going to get better and come back home, back to us. But unfortunately, it wasn't the case. I remember vividly on the day that she passed on, my auntie's car parked outside at the gate, and I was with my sister. I had people crying outside, and I didn't know what was going on. So when my auntie entered the living room, she was like, "Mama, food day," and that means mommy's dead, like she's gone. And at that point, I remember people crying and going crazy, and I just stood there, numb, not sure how to take in that information that I just received, and I didn't know what to do because at that point I think I was 13 years old. I just turned 13 in the previous year, so I was 13. It was during my school holidays, and it was a very horrific experience. I do remember watching my sister cry. She was one of the first people that wailed, and I just walked away and went to the bathroom and sat there, looked in the mirror, and I think that's when it started to sink in that, oh my God, mommy is really gone. Mommy isn't coming back. Like, what is happening? And that's when I started to wail as well. I started crying. I was like, mommy, please don't leave me. Mommy, come back. Like, I screamed at the top of my voice. And the more I screamed, the more I felt her absence. The more I felt this like cold, overwhelming force come over me. And it was a very, very sad, very, very sad and traumatic experience for me and my family. And with African things and the funeral and everything, people coming to your house to pay their respects, and the whole house was filled with people that I didn't know, and I had to sleep in the living room because that's where they had placed her coffin, and because everywhere was filled with people. And guys, it wasn't a good experience at all. And yeah, I remember my dad coming and they wrapped something around his stomach because I think it's to help him from maybe fainting, or I don't know. I don't really remember why they did it, but they wrapped something around his stomach so that maybe if he cried too much, his health wouldn't be affected or something like that. So yeah, I remember waking up the next day. Me and my sister slept on my parents' bed and my dad slept on the floor in the room. And I remember waking up and just looking at albums and seeing my mom's face and having that consuming, overwhelming force come over me again. And I just cried. I really, really cried, you guys. I cried. And then for my sister, it was another traumatic experience. My sister was sick, and I talked to her on phone that very day, and she told me she was scared. I think she felt like she was going to go, and I told her, do not worry, like everything is going to be fine. And then when she hung up, I sent her a message. I just told her to read the book of Job, because I guess in a way I thought that she could relate to it, because Job being in that situation, sick and whatnot, and I just wanted her to relate to it and to hold on to her faith and know that everything is going to be okay. Like, just stay strong. I was in Form 6. I think it was second term or third term holidays. I was in the second term holidays, yeah. And I was watching TV. It was coming to 2 a.m. and my dad enters the living room, and he's like, because at that time, my sister wasn't staying with us. She was staying with another family member. So when my dad came to the living room, he came and told me that Angela is gone. And the same thing happened. I did not know what to do. I felt so lonely because my sister was my best friend. She was my everything. She was somebody that I looked up to. She was my twin, because people used to say that we looked alike. And I remember the pictures that we took together that I posted on Facebook at the time. And I was like, God, this can't happen to me again. I can't lose another person. The pain that I felt, it felt so real, so like, physical pain. It felt like physical pain. It felt like somebody was stabbing me in my tummy. It was a very debilitating thing to experience. And when my dad left the living room, I just screamed. I think that's the first time that I had myself. It was like I got out of my body and looked at myself screaming. It was the first time that when somebody is in so much pain and they just wail, that sound that a mother makes when she's lost a child. I don't know if I'm making sense, but that wail that comes out of a human being when they have gone through something that their brain cannot comprehend at the time. That's what I wailed. That's the sound that came out of my lungs, literally. And it was one of the worst nights of my life. So my mom passed away in 2010 and my sister passed away in 2015. So it was like a 5-year gap in between. And so here I am. In my head, I know that, okay, the only immediate family I have is my dad. I worked on my relationship with my dad. It wasn't always the best, but me and my dad got really close. We were best friends, and 2023, I lose my dad. And it was like, now I don't even know how to explain it, but my mom and my sister's deaths really, really broke me. Literally broke me. But when it came to my dad's death, I can't explain it, but it felt like my world had ended. It affected me a lot more than my mom and my sister's deaths. I do not know why, but even up to now, I'm still in denial. Up to now, I still feel like he's there on his chair, seated, watching TV in the living room. I still feel his presence. It's a death that I still cannot comprehend up to now. Like my dad's death, that was a real blow. I don't know, maybe it's because I thought that he would make it through with me until the end. At times I feel like I can't go on. At times I feel like the world is crumbling right before my eyes. And I guess that's how grief is. One moment you're fine and the next moment you are trapped in a world that you can't escape from. You remember the person. Sometimes it's just anything that could trigger you. It could be music, it could be something you smell, it could be something somebody says, or it could be anything that could trigger it, and you just go back and you realize that they're not there. And guys, I would never wish this on anyone. So here Barbara. The 3 people that I love most in the world are not here with me anymore, and I have to navigate life. So I'm just going to take you through some of the things that I've learned from the time that I lost my loved ones. The first thing is, you don't know you have something until it's gone. I know that's one of the most cliche sayings, but they are extremely true, 100%, 150% true. You don't know you have something until it's gone. You don't know that you will miss it until it's gone. From the time they left, it's when I remember everything, even the most tiniest details of, oh, my mom used to do this for me. My sister used to do this for me. My dad used to do this for me. Like, you get to realize how important they were in your life and how you took some things for granted. Not even some things, how you took them for granted. Guys, if there's anything I can advise you on, it's to always treasure what you have, treasure the people that you have, because it's the truth. It's the truth. You never know what you have until it's gone. You're going to miss them when they're gone. You're going to miss it when you're gone. Like, even when you get away from people that you've lost, but come down to even the simplest of things, like when you lose an earring, you remember the times that you had it. When you get flu, you remember the times that you could breathe properly. When you get a stomach ache, you ponder on the time that you took for granted when your tummy was okay. Like, that's just how it is. And take this from me, please treasure your people. Another thing I've learned is when you lose somebody, you change, because a version of you dies along with them. I am not the same person that I used to be. I feel like each of them went with a version of me that I will never see. It will never reappear. I lost that part of me that represented who they were. Gone. And over the years, I was trying to get that part of me back. But then I got to realize that I'm never going to get it. I'm just going to have to grow and embrace who I am right now and who I've become, and understand that it's never going to happen. Another thing that I've learned is when it comes to grief, there are moments that are going to definitely make you feel sad. Important days like birthdays, like your wedding, like your graduation, like the people that you lost, their birthdays. So many things. Mostly the important days are going to probably trigger you every time. So in moments, so my heart goes out to people like on Mother's Day or Father's Day, Sister's Day, Brother's Day, Christmas. For some people, Christmas is a very emotional and triggering time of the year because they don't have their people with them, and that's the time that you're supposed to spend with family, with friends, and your people are not there, so you feel lonely, you feel sad, you feel depressed. So Christmas isn't always a happy thing for some people that are grieving. And I think we should extend empathy towards such people and not shove this extreme positivity towards them. Understand that they are going through something and be kind to them and show support in any way you can. Cheer them up. Another thing I've learned is grief is different for everyone. It's different for me. It's different for another person out there that has lost a loved one. Some people experience it by just moving on with life. Sometimes grief looks like somebody getting an air ticket and traveling the world. Sometimes it looks like someone drinking themselves silly every day. Sometimes it looks like somebody subjecting themselves to unconventional sexual habits, exploring their sexuality and stuff. Grief comes in many forms, but for me, in my experience, grief came in form of sucking up to people, being a people pleaser times 100. I think it's because I wanted to fill the void. There's a point in my life where I lost my self-worth. I had an identity crisis, and I was letting anyone step over me because I thought these people would provide what I was looking for, provide that sense of security that I got from my parents. And I don't know if it's still a problem that I have, but now I'm a lot more aware of it. And when I realize that I'm transferring these responsibilities to a person, I start to move back, which I think is okay. It's something that I'm still working on. It's a work in progress. When it comes to grief, I also understood that it's okay not for people to understand. Not everyone has to understand what I'm going through. Because grief it's a journey of loneliness. It's something that you can't talk about with somebody. Yes, they will listen, but they have no idea to the extent to which you are in pain. Because for them to understand, they would have to experience it. And that's something you don't want anyone to experience. Only person who will get you is somebody that has gone through the same thing. I can't understand what a lame person is going through because I have both my legs and they work perfectly well, So it's the same thing. You can't understand somebody that is going through grief if you haven't lost anyone. But you can try to support them in many ways. You know your people, you know your person. Personally, my friends have really tried to support me in times when I feel sad. They may not know what to say, but they're there. They sit with me, they watch me cry. They comfort me in so many ways, and I'm very thankful for my support system. It's one of the things that I thank God for every single day. A support system is very important for somebody that's going through grief, because there's one thing for sure: you cannot do this alone. You cannot handle grief alone. One of the most important things that I realized about grief is that it doesn't go away. And for the longest time, I was so angry with myself. It was just this one thing that I wanted to get rid of. Like, why do I have to cry every after a month or two? Why do I have to enter this state of depression? Like, I just don't want this part of me. Why do I miss them so much? I don't want to miss them anymore. I was angry with myself until I eventually got to realize, I don't know if I got to realize it through a conversation with a friend, but I remember getting that epiphany. I think it was a conversation with my friend. They sent me a picture. I don't remember what the graphics entailed, but it was talking about grief. And it's when I got to realize that I had it wrong all this time. I've been trying to fight something that's a part of me. It's like me trying to fight the fact that I have 5 fingers. It's a fact. I'm always going to have 5 fingers on one hand. I can't change it unless I add on a sixth finger, which is possible, I guess, but also impossible. But you get the concept. So I embraced it, and I had a conversation with myself, and I was like, look, Mom, Dad, Angela, very beautiful people, very lovely people. You had a marvelous time with them, and if anything, if God allowed it, I know you would bring them back. But the thing is, they're gone now, and they're never going to come back, and you're always going to feel a certain way. So instead of fighting it, just embrace it. Embrace the absence. Embrace the sadness. Embrace the loneliness. Embrace the memories. Embrace what they signify in your life. Embrace so many things. I became best friends with grief. Instead of pushing her away, I shook hands with her and told her, okay, I finally get what you're saying. I'm going to coexist with you. And I'm going to use you to help myself grow. My perception of things has been molded into different things from the past 15 years that I have experienced grief. I've learned several lessons, and I think it has morphed me into the person that I am today. Now, like I've said always, I am not an expert, especially when it comes to grief. The things that I say on here, it's because I've experienced them and because they have worked for me. This isn't even advice, but this is just from a person that has lost people that are very dear to her to another person that has lost people that are very dear to them. Surround yourself with people that understand your pain. They may not be able to understand it to the very core, but they will support you. There are moments where you're going to have to do this alone. There are moments where you're going to have to feel these feelings alone, and your people won't be able to help you in any way. There are times that I lock myself in my room and I feel my feelings, I cry all my things, and then the next day I come out like nothing has happened. Because sometimes your people don't really understand. It's the truth, and I'm not blaming anyone, but it's the truth. Sometimes your people do not understand, and you are left alone with this grief thing, and you just have to experience it on your own. Especially in moments where they keep saying the same thing, like everything will be okay, like, and I mean well, like, people that have supported me, thank you so much. But there are times where I do this alone, and there's no harm in them not understanding. It's just, it is what it is. And I'm one person who thinks I don't want to drag my friends down all the time, because this energy sometimes is really negative, and you don't want to keep putting that on your friends. And I know they tell us that, hey, if you need to talk about it, I am always here, like, but there are times where I get this grief spell that can last for like a week, and I'm not going to keep pushing that drowsy negative energy onto my friends or my people, because I don't drag them down with me. So sometimes I prefer to just experience this when it comes until it goes away, and then I'm able to show up. I can maybe communicate and let them know that, hey, I'm not doing well. Or sometimes I don't even say anything. I just stay in my cocoon until I'm better and I come out when I can be who they need me to be. I hope that makes sense. All in all, I would say be kind to yourself. Embrace this new version of yourself. Try to understand yourself. It's okay to cry. It's okay to feel. It's okay to be depressed. As long as you don't dwell in it, it's okay. It's okay to go through these things and learn from them and get back up. There are times where it feels like you are going 50 steps back, where you felt like maybe for 2 or 3 consecutive months you haven't felt sad, and then suddenly something happens and you're back at ground zero and you're just wailing and you're bawling your eyes out and you feel angry at yourself for maybe you feel like you've failed at moving on. And no, these things happen. Embrace them and get back up when you're done crying, when you're done feeling whatever you're feeling. Grief isn't linear. It's not a straight line. There are moments where you're going to feel all the stages at the same time. There are moments where you're going to be in one stage. You're going to be angry all the time. For guys, it doesn't have a manual. So yeah, be kind to yourselves. And for those that have people in their life that have lost their loved ones, support them in any way that you can. Even though you don't know what to say, even though you don't know how to show up for them, you can just be a shoulder to cry on. You can just be there with them. The key phrase for this episode is life after loss. I hope what I've discussed today has been able to maybe help somebody out there that is experiencing the same thing, or to also help people that are living with people that are going through the same thing. The next episode is the last episode for season 1. I do not know what I want to talk about yet, but I will let you guys know. By Wednesday, I will put up a post. Otherwise, it's a festive season. It's Christmas is around the corner. Merry Christmas to you all. And it's a season for giving. Because literally, what's Christmas without giving your people, letting people know and appreciating them for what they've done for you, and putting smiles on people's faces. Thank you so much for people that have shown me the support. I am so thankful and grateful. I will see you next Friday. Toodaloo.